Europe is about to go through an energy blackout. Is America destined for the same fate? As you probably already know, energy prices have exploded all over the world, but in particular in Europe, thrusting people into poverty as they can no longer afford to heat or cool or power up electricity into their homes. So, why is this happening? Well, you can blame the green energy climate activists, people like Greta Thunberg, who have shamed European governments into dismantling their own fossil fuel industries and nuclear power plants so that they would be wholly dependent on unreliable energy sources like wind and solar. Germany is probably the best example of this. The nation has gone further than any other country in the world in pursuing the green energy goals of the radical climate activists. Over the last couple decades, Germans have refused to make investments in domestic production of reliable fossil fuels, like natural gas, while they dismantled their nuclear power plants in order to go all in on things like wind energy. These decisions have proven to be an absolute disaster. You see, the problem with renewables like wind power is that they produce minimal amounts of energy and they can't do jack when the wind doesn't blow. So it requires countries to keep a ton of energy in the form of reliable fossil fuels as backup. In Germany's case, this meant that their wind energy experiment resulted in them becoming completely reliant on Russian natural gas to meet their energy needs. So even before the pandemic and the invasion of Ukraine, Germany had among the most expensive energy prices in the world. But things really spiraled out of control for them once it got cut off from Russian natural gas. And now Germans are being faced with energy prices that are 6 times higher than they were last year. And unfortunately, things are only going to get worse, since the vast majority of the demand for natural gas is in the winter when people need it to heat their homes. But it's not just Germany who is vulnerable. Other European nations, such as UK, have followed a similar playbook, and now their citizens are paying energy prices double or triple from what they used to be, and they'll also climb higher as we approach the new year. So people in the modern world are going to die because they can't afford to heat their homes. And in the poorer countries, like those in Africa, people will die of hunger because Western countries have cut off Russian natural gas, which is a fundamental ingredient for the production of fertilizers. Now, for the United States, they're going to feel some of the pain. But we are in much better shape relative to Europe because over the last decade, American companies have invested a lot in natural gas production. But the tragic thing is, America could have been in a position to help out nations all over the world, and in particular Europe, because the US has enough natural gas to meet all of our energy needs and have a lot left over to hand out to the Europeans. The key word there is could have. Unfortunately, we won't be able to help out the other nations in the world. Why? Well, because the same types of radical climate activists who caused this disaster in Europe are now in charge here, and they are undermining America's fossil fuel industry, meaning that energy prices at home will continue to be way more expensive than they should be. And on top of that, we don't have the ability to supply the energy to help out the poor people around the world. So it's time to cast aside the radical green environmentalist crowd and start reinvesting in reliable fossil fuels and nuclear energy. The future of humanity literally depends on it. Like this video, follow me at on YouTube, check out my podcast, Electile Dysfunction, and go to genbiz.com for more great content.